Welcome back to Painting and Decorating, part 2 of painting a room. Managed to get that ceiling done. Bit of a killer that is on the old shoulder and the neck. So the next stage is the walls. Certain areas are okay, but there is certain areas that are pretty bad. I'll show you around in a second. I'm going to concentrate the video solely on this wall for the actual painting. And then just show you the finish of the room. But let's have a quick look round at the bits, what you need to fix before you can start painting. We'll start over there on the chimney breast. Now that's not too bad at all. Like I say, it's had a wipe down, so that just needs painting. Emulsion generally sticks to emulsion with no sanding. That's got a textured surface, so I wouldn't sand that unless you get really, some nasty lumps that you want to remove to make it look better. But on a flat wall, you're better giving it a sand just to get any nibs out of it and to make it look better. And sometimes to readjust the texture in case somebody's actually put the paint on too heavy in places and not others. So you can sand it a bit to even it out. Right, we'll have a look at that wall in a minute. The window wall, again, it's generally not too bad at the top, but as you come down to this bottom area, down here, you can just see there a little fine crack, and the paint, as you can hear, it's loose. Now, if you don't deal with that, as soon as you start putting your paint on, it's going to lift, it's going to come off, and you'll never get rid of that crack unless you remove what's there. So using my blade, in fact what I'm going to do first of all is put a piece of newspaper down here to collect any rubbish so I'm not messing up my dust sheet. It's a lot quicker. Right, so I've got my newspaper down. Let's have a look at this crack again. So using your blade, just peel that back. Let's have a look why. Now, already what I'm seeing there is it's been filled before with polyfiller, possibly, or some other type of filler. It doesn't have to be polyfiller. There's lots of different stuff on the market. Right, now that's absolutely solid there. There's nothing wrong with that whatsoever. There's no damp, there's nothing. Make sure there's no loose. Now, the reason that's probably like that is because it's not actually been sealed before the paint's gone on. This paint has just lifted off the surface. In fact, you can hear it up there as well. So the chances are when you start painting, bits are going to bubble. It can dry back and it'll be alright and it won't affect it. Sometimes it can crack, start peeling as it's drying. So I'll show you with this bit what we can do. So I've scraped back best I can and I'm going to give it a sand down, because half them edges you can probably get rid of. I'm just going to put the camera down, give it a good sand down. Right, so I'll give that a good sand down, and it's not too bad. I might have to do a bit of filling along that edge there because that's quite proud, but the rest of it's not too bad. I'm looking at a lot of this wall. There's a lot of areas which are loose. It's not cracked, but there's just a lot of areas that are loose. So what I'm going to end up doing is just sanding it down, dealing with areas that are cracked like this, and then give it a coat of paint and see how it reacts. That's the only, that's the best way to deal with this. But anyway, that bit now, I'm actually going to put on some PVA. Now, a lot of people don't like PVA because they don't understand how to use it. Some people do use it wrong and it can cause problems. But if you know how to use it correctly, That's it. I've thinned it out with water. That is just milky water. So just seal the area. Now you can see it's soaking in. Nothing wrong with that now. Allow that to dry off. It'll only take 20 minutes, and then you can put your polyfiller over that. Give it a light sand down when it's all dry. Put another bit of diluted PVA on there, and then you're ready to emulsion the wall. But once that's dried off there, that'll be nice and solid, and it won't throw the paint off again. It won't throw the polyfiller off either. It just helps things to stick. And once you've finished your newspaper, then all the muck, there's nothing on the dust sheet. Straight into your rubbish bag and you move on. Right, dealing with that wall, let's have a look over this wall. Again, I don't know if the camera can pick it up, but the texture is quite heavy. Certain areas, it's brush marks. So I'm going to give the whole wall a sand down. And you can see this part here. All the paint's come off. Probably a chair, the back of a chair or something like that. Now, what I'm going to do is sand all the wall down. You can see where it's been touched up loads of times. It's beyond touching up anyway. Sand the wall down. Top edge of the skirting board, sand that as well. Because you always slightly overlap your emulsion onto the woodwork. So then you can cut in your finished paint very neat to the wall and you've got a nice edge. So first off, sand it down, and then you can fill where necessary. I'll show you what I use. So look at that, polyfiller, easy sand, interior, so no good for outside. Don't be using exterior fillers inside either, because it's just a waste of time. You have to sometimes put special primers on them. This stuff, you can just put emulsion straight over it really, as long as you've thinned it out slightly. So the next stage is, you'll see that wall after I've sanded it down and when I'm about to do my filling. These sockets, let's have a quick look at that. Yeah, that's been possibly corked round, so I'm not going to remove that. It's just going to get wiped down. I might put some masking tape round it, or when I'm emulsioning the wall, I'll possibly just have a damp cloth with me and wipe it off and make sure it's clean as I'm going. Always wear a dust mask when you're sanding. Sandpaper I'm using for this is P60. It's not too coarse, but it will get through the layer of paint that I want to. I'm also going to have some gloves as well. I've given that wall a good sand down now. Now I've mixed some filler up. One thing, you don't want it lumpy, it's got to be a nice smooth consistency. I'm going to fill this area first. Now you need to be careful of how far you go, because like I say, that's quite a heavy texture, and the filler is going to smooth the area out. You can reapply a bit of texture to it, which I'll show you that later, but you still don't want to be, letting your polyfill go up to there or down here. Just try and keep it in the area. So using my filling blade, a bit of filler. Now usually you go one direction and then another, just to make sure it's nicely in. You can see I'm not going too far over anything. Now that possibly will do, but I'm going to give it a light sand down when it's dry. Just topping it up a little bit. I'm going to give it a light sand down when it's dry. Then coat the wall up with emulsion. And if I can see anything at that point, I'll mix a hard stop, refill it, and then I'm okay with that. Now, some of the edges of the wood, they're not that great. I'm going to leave that one and get away with that. Because like I say, this is very rustic, this room. But that edge there is pretty bad. And when I come to cutting my skirting boards, I want a nice, neat edge. So what I do, bit of polyfiller on my finger, and you can wipe it along the edge, creating, just wipe all the excess off. Let's just have a look. So you've got a really rough edge, it's like U-shaped almost, and then when you come across to my polyfiller, it's perfect. Nice neat edge to cut in between the colour and the white. Well, yeah, the colour and the white. Right, so, look at that bit there. So I'm going to carry on doing this filling now. It's going really well at the minute. I've actually put a coat of emulsion on, apart from that wall, all the way around. It's a lighter colour than what was on to brighten the room up. Let's have a look at the bit fixed. Now that's where the crack was, and where I sanded it down, did a little bit of filling, also used some PVA, no problems whatsoever. So, just that wall left to do. First of all, where my filler's dried, let's have a look. I've got a sponge pad. Don't need anything too coarse for that, and I'm just going to give it a light sand over. And then I'm going to dust it off. And then I'm going to give it a coat of PVA. Don't get any runs in it. There you go, that'll do. Now, same with the skirting board down here. Just dust that bit, dust it. And I'm going to give that a quick sand over. Dust it off, and again a little coat of PVA. Now once you've done that, you don't have to wait for that to dry. You can literally start cutting in and then emulsioning. So I'll show you a little bit of cutting in, and then I'll show you actually rolling the wall. I'm doing this with 1.5 inch synthetic brush. I'm doing, it's big enough for what I need. I'm doing this with a camera in my hand as well. So I'm going to start cutting in along the ceiling. Well, along that beam. Now you can see where parts of it are going darker. Well, that's where the paint is actually soaking in very quickly and drying. So if you go over it a few times, you'll find it absorbs more paint, and I'll probably get away with one coat on this because it's absorbing that much. It's giving it good opacity, and it's good paint anyway. Always use the best paint because it makes your life so much easier. I always come out in them corners a little bit, makes it easier to roll. So there you go, I'll show you a little bit more. People always say, why am I going over it so many times? And that's how you get rid of the brush marks. Perfect. Just show you picture hook there. A little bit around that. Done. Right, I'll tell you what, I'll cut in to that light, because what I'm doing, I'm going to bring the ceiling along to there, and then I'm going to cut in around the light and carry on, because sometimes there's no point in dropping back to things. Let's get a bit further away. That's how small this room is. I don't need any steps for this. Right, now I'll show you around cutting around that light. Just wipe a bit of paint out the stock, because the problem with these synthetics is that it really does build up in the stock at times. Bit of something in it there, get out. Right. Sorry if the camera goes out of view. I'm trying to watch what I'm doing as well. A little bit on the way there. Perfect. No paint on that. Nice little bit under there mist. Always double check your areas when you're painting, because as soon as you move away and you notice something, then you've got to go back. Right, I'm going to finish cutting in the wall and then I'll show you rolling it. So I've got my roller pole for this. I need to extend it that far. Now I'm using a medium pile roller sleeve to get a finer texture on this. I get a lot of comments saying why don't I use a larger roller sleeve. One of the reasons being I like the arm on one side because you can get very close to the wall, so one with two arms, no good. And the larger they are sometimes, the plaster is that uneven, you can actually miss bits. So this, for me, does a better even finish. Picked a couple of bits up from somewhere, don't I? Usually, that's why I filter my paint, so you don't get any bits. I didn't filter it this time, so I thought it was clean enough, but obviously not. Try and get as close to your sockets as you can. You can put masking tape round them, but as long as you try and get as close as you can, usually it's not too bad. Nothing worse than getting bits in your paint. looking good. Now what I'm going to do is the part where I did the filler. I'm just going to put an extra bit of paint there and then leave it a bit more texture on it. Come on. There you go. I'll give you a close-up of that filler now. But generally that's it for this video. So let's have a look at that filler. There you go. Can't see anything. Right then, so the next video is going to be the woodwork, which I'm using a quick drying satin wood. One reason, because it's a darkish room and water-based finishes on woodwork don't yellow. Well, some of them don't yellow. Hybrid ones, they can yellow. But as long as they say non-yellowing, then you're alright with that. I do prefer to use oil when I can, but it'll be a lot better in this room because it's dark once the curtains go back. Right then, I'll see you in part 3.